The following stories tell the tale of 3 women who did the unthinkable by pretending to have cancer in order to get money for themselves. We have a self-proclaimed health guru who lied and said she had the secret life hack to healing cancer through a special diet, a woman who made up an elaborate story about having cancer to gain sympathy and money, and a teen who faked having leukemia and pancreatic cancer in order to scam people for tens of thousands of dollars.
In late 2014, Elle Magazine Australia published the feature, The Most Inspiring Woman You've Met This Year. It was about Belle Gibson, a terminal cancer patient, social media sensation, and successful businesswoman and philanthropist. She had secured a deal with Apple to promote her app on the brand new Apple Watch.
Belle was clearly at a great place in her career. She was a best-selling author and had tens of thousands of fans on social media that adored her. But all that she built was about to come crumbling down, all around her, when police raided her home and found out that the entire life she had built for herself was all based on a lie. And quite frankly, horrible and evil lie that would affect many people.
It's difficult to determine what is true and what is a lie when it comes to Belle Gibson's life.
According to the book about her life that she published, Belle was born in a small city in Australia. Her brother was autistic and her father did not play a role in her life. She claimed that her mother had a chronic disease that affected her nervous system. The family ended up moving to Brisbane when she was still young. In her book, she painted a story of a rather difficult childhood for herself.
From age 6, she says she has to act as the head of the household, doing all the chores and making sure her mother and brother were fed. She has stated in interviews that she was homeschooled and moved out at age 12 to stay with friends.
She was just 18 years old when she gave birth to her son, Oliver, in 2010. As she got older, she began working with website development and began making a name for herself on social media. She later ended up sharing more of her personal life as a single mother through social media. Around this time, she began to have some strange health problems. She was having problems with her balance and then ended up having a stroke at work.
She received a shattering diagnosis. She had a brain cancer that was spreading fast. She was given 6 weeks to 4 months to live. She moved to the larger city of Melbourne and commenced chemotherapy and radiotherapy as advised by her doctors.
But Belle hated her treatment and ultimately made the decision to leave and try to take things into her own hands.
Gibson decided to research alternative cancer therapies and began a more holistic approach by cutting out refined sugar and processed foods from her diet and started consuming superfoods, vitamins, and natural medicines.
But that's not all. She also claimed to incorporate oxygen therapy, enemas, and meditation into her own treatment regimen. All the while, she documented her journey on social media platforms for all of her followers to follow along with. Belle inspired people from all over the world to change their diet. She even inspired people who were battling cancer and other serious illnesses to stop their current treatment regimen and follow what she was doing. The only problem with all of this is that Belle's entire platform was based on a lie. In her book, she had lied about basically everything in her life. She was born in 1991, not 1989, as she had claimed. Her brother was not autistic. Her mother actually did have MS, but came forward to say that Belle never helped around the house or did anything to help care for her or her brother, as she had claimed. Strangely enough, she had even lied about her schooling. She was not homeschooled and attended a normal school in Brisbane. But we know that all of the many lies she was dealing out, there was one particularly horrendous and unimaginable. She did not have cancer, and she never did. She had made it all up, essentially, to build a following, create a name for herself, and make money. And it worked. But just a few years after she faked her own diagnosis, Belle had tons of followers on social media, and she even had her own app. It was called The Whole Pantry, and it was to guide an individual through healthier eating by providing clean recipes. But even that she was making money off of, at $3.49 a download. The app was a great success, and before long, Belle found herself getting invited onto television shows to talk about her journey. She even landed on the cover of a magazine. All of this was because she had somehow managed to trick the world into believing that she had cured her own brain cancer, which had never existed in the first place. She was working alongside Apple to help design other apps and products that were health related. It was clear that her career was truly starting to take off in a major way.
Emails and private messages between Gibson and senior Apple staff revealed how closely they had been working together, using pet names and signing off with kisses.
The whole pantry app was even coming to be pre-installed on the new Apple Watch, something that is pretty remarkable to accomplish. You would think that at this point, Belle had accomplished enough with her lies and deception, but she still wasn't done. She decided to try to push for other people's sympathies even further. In July of 2014, she turned to Instagram to announce another update in her health journey.
It hurts me to find space tonight to let you all know with love and strength that I've been diagnosed with a third and fourth cancer. One is secondary and the other is primary. I have cancer in my blood, spleen, brain, uterus, and liver. I am hurting.
Unsurprisingly, tons of people left comments showing love and support for her. They truly believed she was ill. If anything, this false claim helped further her career even more, and by October of the same year, she had already gotten a book deal named after the app, The Whole Pantry. The book not only discussed her app, but her cancer journey and nutrition. Meanwhile, on social media, Belle was starting to spread some pretty dangerous false information that was negatively influencing her followers. She was warning them to stop getting vaccinations, claiming that they could cause cancer, and she even blamed the American government at the time for giving her the cancer. She also told her followers that they should drink raw, unpasteurized cow milk, the sale of which is illegal in Australia. At the time, this practice had even led to the death of one child and caused 4 others to become very sick. Her strange and sometimes dangerous viewpoints were starting to draw some criticism by some of her followers, but things were about to get much more serious. In March of 2015, a journalist came forward and posted an article claiming multiple different charities that Belle had claimed to donate money to had never received the funds. This was money raised by her company that was supposed to go towards helping other people. She certainly was starting to look suspicious. One particular journalist had been following along with her story, and he was starting to have some questions about her story. She really didn't look like someone with cancer. She looked completely healthy. He ended up meeting up with her to learn some more.
She started telling me that the doctor who diagnosed her with these other 4 cancers the previous year had shot through on her, and she was no longer seeing him, and she now had doubts about his bona fides.
The reporter would end up publishing another article in which he revealed Belle didn't know if she actually even had cancer. The article basically exposed her lies and showed that she wasn't the person she had portrayed herself to be. It caused a major stir throughout the nation as many other publications delved into her story and revealed her lies. Even her own mom spoke out against her, and Belle's social media profiles were flooded with angry comments. People were so mad they even doxed her home address. Apple dropped the Whole Pantry app just days before it was supposed to be launched through Apple Watch. Her career was really starting to tank. Magazines that had published Belle's content had to come forward and apologize for promoting her, despite being warned by others that she was a fraud. Former friends and colleagues also turned against Belle after realizing what she had done. They explained how she had used the money and she had essentially swindled it from others to create a lavish lifestyle for herself. It was a lifestyle of fancy handbags, designer clothes, and luxury cars. It's hard to imagine how betrayed these people must have felt to know that someone they trusted was a complete liar and scam artist. Belle tried to stand up for herself, but it was too late. Her reputation had been destroyed. In May of 2015, Belle broke her silence with an interview that was published in the Australian Women's Weekly magazine. While she didn't take full responsibility for all of the truly terrible things she did admit it was all fake, and she had been lying about her cancer all along. She never apologized to the people whom she scammed, and then in June of 2015, she made an appearance on 60 Minutes Australia. She claimed she was ready to come clean.
Belle, are you prepared to tell the truth today? The whole truth? No little
Absolutely.
half truths, no gobbledygook. The truth.
No, I've been really transparent.
On the show, she was dressed in a pink sweater, her hair swept back into a ponytail. She looked young and innocent. If you didn't know all that she'd done, you probably would have thought she was a nice young girl.
Do you accept the level of damage you've done to people's trust?
I do. And they are feeling disrespected. They are feeling hurt. They are feeling betrayed.
Tara Brown, the interviewer, wasn't afraid to ask the hard-hitting questions and ultimately call Belle out for her actions.
You didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
Basically, Belle claimed that even though she didn't have cancer, she believed she did all along. She said that with everything she did, she believed she really did have cancer, and it was a huge shock to her when she found out she was cancer-free.
So you lied because you feared you wouldn't be believed. Is that what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying.
Well, can you be clearer on what you're saying? I mean, you were absolutely misleading, weren't you? You said a doctor gave you this terrible prognosis in his office.
But she continued to maintain that she had met with a man who she believed to be a doctor who told her she had cancer. Tara found the interview to be very frustrating because Belle was so determined to keep up with the lies instead of just telling the truth.
The producers I've been working with are aware of my health position. I wasn't...
Belle, please. I mean, either you're interested in getting to the bottom of this and presenting the facts as they are, the facts, or you're not.
It didn't matter what question Tara asked. Belle would have some sort of story or excuse for every one of them. Tara felt that the decision to interview Belle at all was complicated.
Whether she's sick or not, whether she's actually has an illness that makes her lie compulsively. And I'm not an expert in that, and that's not really my role.
Tara presented Belle with the idea that she may have Munchausen syndrome or some other disorder that would cause her to falsely believe she had some sort of illness. Instead of taking this opportunity and accepting that this could be possible, she denied having any such disorder.
Did you live in fear of being found out?
No, because I wasn't living in a space where I didn't know that this wasn't my reality.
Would you accept that you're a pathological liar?
No.
Tara gave Belle chance after chance to come clean and tell the truth about everything that had gone down, but she refused to accept any responsibility whatsoever for her actions.
It wasn't until after the interview when we were able to find medical records that showed she knew very well that she wasn't sick, that we had the proof that she'd been lying still.
The medical records showed that Belle had actually gone and had a brain scan done. It revealed that she was told by a medical professional that she had no brain cancer or anything wrong with her at all. One family that was particularly insulted by Belle's actions was one that had a little boy who really did have cancer. Belle had spoken to them about his condition.
They believe that you pumped them for information about their son's symptoms so you could take them on as your own.
That family was one that I did have little interaction with.
That's not how they describe it. They say they cried with you, you cried with them, your children played together.
I understand that they're hurting, but I also know that I never questioned Joshua or his mother about his symptoms.
As Tara explained, the group of people that Belle's actions hurt the most are those who truly do have serious health conditions, some of whom are even dying. These are people in a desperate situation, people who are desperate for some sort of hope to get them through. Belle offered them some hope, but under entirely false pretenses.
I mean, it was based on taking recipes off the internet and making them her own. It was talking about the hope of lemons. It just wasn't based on anything.
What could be more offensive to someone who is truly sick to try to convince them that the modern medicine they're currently using isn't going to be more effective than Belle's methods when Belle's methods weren't even real? But still, she didn't seem to see that.
I just wonder, Belle, and I don't know if you're at a stage where you'll ever admit it, but whether you just didn't know what you were getting yourself into. That you probably thought you weren't doing any harm, but that you thought you could get away with it.
There was nothing to get away with, Tara.
But of course, we know there really was. Belle had managed to convince all these people that she held the key to an alternative method of beating cancer. You might think to yourself, well, it's on those people that chose to believe Belle and allowed themselves to be duped. But for those that have been sick themselves, you know that when you're in that position, you're open to trying just about anything. What reason did they have to not trust her? It's safe to say that people weren't very happy that this station gave Belle a platform through this interview.
She didn't have this illness that so many others did. And so I think when our story went to air, that was really front and centre, and I think that's what people really responded to. They were really angry.
It's clear that people have a lot of different opinions about what Belle did, but what is Belle feeling? Apparently, it isn't sympathy.
Have you thought about them? I know you sit here and tell me how you feel. Have you thought about how they're feeling at the moment?
In the same way I just said, I put them in my shoes and I know that they're feeling the same way I feel.
Well, some of them want you to go to jail.
It was frustrating for Tara too. Even after all of this, not managing to get any sort of apology out of Belle for what she did. If Belle is sorry, it seems clear she is never going to say so publicly.
But she doesn't act like somebody who has remorse, and she doesn't act like she feels she's done anything wrong.
So, what is the end of the story for Belle Gibson? It's not clear yet. In 2017, she was fined $410,000, which she did not pay for several years. It would later be determined she was so in debt that she only had $5,000 left. In 2021, her home was raided by law enforcement in an attempt to get back some of her unpaid fees. In a strange twist, back in 2020, Belle came forward to say that she has been adopted into the Ethiopian community of Melbourne, and even posed for a photo of herself in traditional Ethiopian clothes. If you thought this story was crazy, wait until you hear about this next one.
It was the kind of feel-good story that warms your heart. Jessica Ann Smith, a mother and fitness buff, said she was battling cancer at just 32 years old, but was rallying support, encouraging friends and family to #FightLikeAJessica. With medical bills piling up, supporters answered the call, raising over $10,000 on GoFundMe and Facebook to help.
If you've had a serious illness or have had a loved one struggle with one before, you know just how important having support is. To have total support, even from strangers you've never met, is incredibly encouraging. It can help provide you with the strength you need to carry on when things get tough.
People are coming out of the woodworks to help, which is, will restore anyone's faith in humanity.
Sounds like a nice story, right? The only problem is that Jessica didn't actually have cancer. She made the whole thing up in order to get support from strangers, good people who just wanted to help by donating their own hard-earned money. It was for that she got arrested.
She made people believe that she had a very serious cancer diagnosis. The fact is, she didn't have cancer.
How does someone even think up a plan like this, and how did it all start? Investigators say it started with Jessica telling her friends that she was being treated for colon cancer and was having trouble with all her medical bills. From there, it moved to social media. It wasn't long before donations began coming in for her.
The sad part of these type of GoFund or fundraising website scams and cases is that they are preying upon people's hearts in the most sad and vulnerable ways. And because of our charitability, we become the biggest targets for this type of charges and cases.
It's pretty crazy the level of which Jessica was willing to take this whole thing in order to get sympathy. She even complained about the side effects of treatment she wasn't actually receiving.
I actually have some chemo burns right now.
She also shared photos of her hair loss on social media, while many people praised her bravery and vulnerability.
I'll be looking forward to posting that I'm in remission.
She even went on a podcast to talk about her experience.
The doctor is taking my history as he's looking at my blood work, and he's like, I really think you have colon cancer.
Jeff Burr, the host of the podcast, had a feeling something wasn't quite adding up.
Honestly, the whole interview seemed off from the very beginning. She was kind of going through like a cancer checklist. You know, she was feeling sick, she was taking off of work because of her illness. She was going through this checklist and it was almost too perfect.
But what can you do? Accuse someone of not having cancer? So he went with it. Jessica knew that there were people suspicious of her story. She even talked about it publicly.
If anyone straight up came up to me and was like, I think you're faking this, I literally would say, okay, you're coming to chemo with me on Monday.
Jessica was clearly very confident that she was going to get away with this. She even presented what she claimed were real medical papers about her condition.
If these people actually knew me, and you could see in my face compared to the last one, since I want to say July 10th, I've lost 28 pounds. Simply because I have like no appetite from chemo and all this stuff. So
what she didn't know was that the police had already been tipped off about her and they were looking into her story. Not to mention that Jessica's own husband had come forward and told the police that he didn't think she really had cancer.
According to police, Jessica's story began to unravel. They say her doctor told them those photos, which she claimed showed her receiving chemotherapy, was not chemotherapy at all, but an iron infusion for anemia.
But that's not all. They also found out that the doctor, whom she had claimed had operated on her for her alleged cancer, was not even at the hospital at that time.
Jessica's worst enemy is herself. On a number of occasions, she went onto the media proclaiming the sickness of this very rare hereditary colon cancer. Her statements are going to be the most damning things against her in this trial.
What Jessica did, and what all those who misuse and abuse sites like GoFundMe do, is make it so that people are going to be a lot less willing to help people who really and truly are in need. There are people out there who may really need help with medical care, and who will now be less likely to be believed. Jessica even condemned those that lie to get charity, despite doing the same thing herself.
It's a shame because those 3 people really ruined it for people who really need the help.
But soon, it was Smith's fundraisers owing refunds, as both her GoFundMe and her Facebook efforts were shut down.
These platforms claimed that the fundraisers violated their terms and that those that donated would receive their donations back. Safe to say, Jessica got herself into quite an illegal pickle.
Meanwhile, Smith is facing separate charges in Delaware for identity theft and criminal impersonation of a law enforcement officer.
She took advantage of people's generosity and everyone's worst fear of a cancer diagnosis to get money for herself.
But it wasn't just the fake cancer. She faced other legal woes as well.
Jessica Smith wanted for allegedly stealing $2,400 from Berkeley County gym owners BJ and Heather Foss.
So what happened to Jessica Smith, and was justice served? She ultimately pled guilty to theft through deception and forgery. She was sentenced to 4 years of probation and was required to go through a mental health program and pay restitution. She must pay $4,375 back to GoFundMe and $8,311 to Facebook. It's not clear whether or not she has completed paying back this debt. Is this true justice for what Jessica did? To most people, it doesn't seem like it because she has spent no prison time. What do you think? Was justice served in this case?
The 19-year-old accused of lying about having cancer on TikTok and scamming well-wishers out of tens of thousands of dollars.
Maddie took to social media to claim that doctors told her she only had an 11% chance of survival from what she said was a football-sized tumor wrapped around her spine. Lots of people, including businesses and even charities, came forward to help out and donate money. The only problem is that Maddie didn't have cancer, but what she committed was a felony.
I am too sick from treatment where I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything.
So many people believed Maddie's story without a second thought.
Investigators say Madison Russo took more than $37,000 from Maddie's fight against pancreatic cancer, a GoFundMe set up on her behalf.
On TikTok, Maddie posted videos in which she talked about her so-called treatment, likely in an effort to not only gain a following, but also gain sympathy.
This week is not a chemo week, it's just a radiation week.
Maddie told the world she had both leukemia and stage 2 pancreatic cancer, but had neither. She posted countless videos on TikTok talking about what she was going through, and so many people showed her support and encouragement. These videos have since been taken down.
I got the call from my oncologist, and they found a mass on my pancreas, and I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer at just 19 years old. I was terrified.
Maddie even made a post about a person she knew named Charlie who lost her life to cancer. She claimed that they would text each other daily about the ups and downs of life with cancer.
It's days like these that are hard, and I try my best to stay positive and think that, after my chemo was, after my week of chemo is done, after, round 3 is done, and I get, a break until the next round of chemo. But sometimes it's hard to think like that when you're in so much pain and discomfort and everything is just going the wrong way.
Maddie claimed that she had a trick for not losing her hair while going through chemo. She said it was biotin and even advertised the product online.
Because it's like unmedicated. So here's the packaging of that. You just order it online. It comes with like a 3-month supply. I started this right away when I started treatment.
It's thanks to real medical professionals who saw these videos, realizing that something fishy was going on, and tipped off the police that Maddie won't be able to steal from anyone else.
Police tell us they're reviewing all of Russo's posts as part of the investigation. In a press release saying witnesses with medical experience pointed out the many medical discrepancies, including terrible, life-threatening inaccuracies of her medical equipment placement on her body.
Take a look at this picture here. Not only is this not the correct positioning of a port, but this is also not the type of medical tape that would be used in the hospital. The authorities looked into Maddie's medical records and found out that she had never been diagnosed with any form of cancer and did not have a tumor, as she said. It's crazy how far she was able to take this made-up story, even making it to the local newspaper in Iowa. She also did outreach for the National Pancreas Foundation. The foundation has since released a statement about the damage she has done by lying about her condition.
There are thousands of patients, families, and caregivers battling this terrible disease, and Miss Russo's actions have taken away valuable resources from these patients.
Lois Frillman is one of the many people who came forward to donate money to help Maddie. In fact, he was generous enough to donate a whopping $500. To most people, this is a pretty decent chunk of cash. He was refunded the money.
My thinking is say a prayer for this young kid because she's going to have a lot of terrible consequences.
There were about 440 different donors who contributed to a GoFundMe started on Maddie's behalf. Maddie was arrested on January 3rd of 2023. She was charged with theft by deception, which is a Class C felony. At the time of her arrest, police issued a search warrant for her home. They seized her car and took some items from the residence, including a wig, bank records, medical supplies, money, and pills that had not been prescribed to her. She was released on a $10,000 bond. It was reported that the same man who set up her GoFundMe is who bailed her out. She remains out of jail for now, but could face as many as 10 years behind bars and could have to pay $1,000 to $10,000 in fines. Her arraignment is scheduled for February 23rd of 2023. She nor any members of her family have come forward to make any sort of statement, and it is not clear yet how she is going to plead in regards to her charge. There are a lot of questions about this case that have yet to be answered. How did this go on for as long as it did? Where were her parents? And why didn't they intervene? This will likely come out during the legal proceedings. So there we have it. 3 women who lied about having cancer and managed to scam money out of innocent people just trying to do something nice. The reality is that many people have been affected by cancer in real ways. Whether they've had it themselves or had a family member with it, this is a horrific disease. And to lie about it for one's own selfish financial gain is pretty much one of the scummiest things a person can do.